Hello and welcome to Right Sports Talk. My name is Zach, and with NFL free agency officially kicking off later this week, I just wanted to sit down and talk about some of the roster moves that have been made throughout the NFL over the past few weeks. So, with NFL free agency starting soon, teams have been making a bunch of roster moves, whether that's to clear some cap space, sign previously released players that were released from other teams earlier in the offseason, or re-signing their own guys before they can hit free agency and before other teams can have an opportunity to sign those big name players. So I'm just going to start off, pretty much going to go through some of the notable moves from teams throughout the league. So I'm not going to talk about every single team. Not every team made notable moves and make a notable signing, a franchise tag, or re-signing, anything like that, or releases. So let's go through the teams that made notable roster moves and just kind of talk about them a little bit. To start off, the Atlanta Falcons released tight end Jonnu Smith, and since being released, he had been picked up by the Miami Dolphins and signed to their roster. Jonnu Smith spent last season with the Falcons. They traded last offseason, a late round draft pick to the New England Patriots to get him. And after one season in Atlanta, he was let go and picked up by the Miami Dolphins. Moving on, the Baltimore Ravens have re-signed defensive tackle Justin Matabuke, and also the Kansas City Chiefs re-signed defensive tackle Chris Jones. So those were the two top defensive tackles that could have hit free agency this offseason are now not going to. They're back with their original teams, so no other team will have a chance to try and sign them in free agency. The Carolina Panthers franchise tagged outside linebacker Brian Burns. So it's a big keep for them, a big key piece to their defense that they can keep on the roster. The Chicago Bears earlier in the offseason released offensive guard Cody Whitehair and safety Eddie Jackson, and they also re-signed cornerback Jalen Johnson. Big get. He would have been one of the top corners going into free agency if the Bears had not re-signed him. The Bengals, the biggest thing, they franchise tagged T. Higgins, one of the top wide receivers that could hit free agency, is now staying in Cincinnati unless a team wants to trade for him. Speaking of trading for wide receivers, the Cleveland Browns traded for wide receiver Jerry Jeudy from the Denver Broncos. And in addition to the Broncos trading Jerry Jeudy, they released safety Justin Simmons, and quarterback Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson has since had meetings with the New York Giants and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Moving on, the Indianapolis Colts franchise tagged Michael Pittman, and another, what would have been a big name wide receiver, not hitting the market. And the Jacksonville Jaguars franchise tagged outside linebacker, edge rusher Josh Allen. Another big key piece to their defense is going to be sticking around. Moving on, the Buffalo Bills released a few players to try and free up some cap space, because I believe this is the season that Josh Allen's big money from his contract will start to hit. So they had to free up some space. They released center Mitch Morse. They released running back Nyheim Hines. They released cornerback Tre'Davious White, wide receiver Deontay Hardy, and free safety Jordan Poyer. So Tre'Davious White and Jordan Poyer, two kind of big name free agents, defensive backs that weren't expected to hit the free agency market this season, are now going to be free agents. Kind of same thing going back to the Broncos and Justin Simmons, a big name safety that wasn't thought to have hit the free agency market, but now is going to be up for grabs. The Buffalo Bills also traded offensive guard Ryan Bates to the Chicago Bears. The Chiefs, I mentioned how they re-signed Chris Jones. They also released wide receiver Marvez Valtez Scantling, and they franchise tagged L'Jarius Sneed, but they are open to trading him. They're open to receiving calls for trade offers for him. The Chargers released veteran linebacker Eric Kendricks, free up some cap space. The Rams re-signed a big piece of their offensive line, offensive guard Kevin Dotson. The Dolphins, I previously mentioned they signed Jonnu Smith, and they are also expected to release cornerback Xavier Howard. That should be coming soon. The Vikings released running back Alexander Mattison. So Mattison was their starting running back last year for the majority of the season until late in the season when they threw in Ty Chandler and a little bit of Cam Akers before he suffered an injury. So they probably felt like they just, did not need him anymore. They have Ty Chandler, and then, Chancellor can come back. Cam Akers can come back healthy. They've got, two really good running backs. So, Alexander Mattison, they were able to release to free up some cap space. The New England Patriots released earlier in the offseason defensive tackle Lawrence Guy and free safety Adrian Phillips. Those are two guys that had been there for a few years and are very good contributors on defense. They also released cornerback J.C. Jackson. J.C. Jackson, this is his second stint in New England. He had been there previously, and they traded him to the Chargers before the 2022 season. Things didn't work out for him in LA with the Chargers. Traded him back to New England last year. Wasn't very productive. New England released him, freed up some cap space. They also placed the transition tag on safety Kyle Duggar. So that is different from a traditional franchise tag. The transition tag still allows teams to offer Kyle Duggar a contract for their team. However, it just allows New England to match any offer that Kyle Duggar gets. If New England were to match an offer that Kyle Duggar got, he would be staying in New England. And if nobody offers him, clearly he's staying in New England under the transition tag. They also re-signed Hunter Henry. I made a video a couple weeks ago, talking about off-season moves I wanted to see the New England Patriots make. One of them was re-signing Hunter Henry, so I am very excited for that re-signing. They also signed offensive tackle Chukwuamu Okorafor. It's previously released by the Steelers last month, which was the reason that New England was able to sign him before free agency. But I think that's also a good signing, a good depth piece for their offensive line. The New York Jets released tight end CJ Uzomah. The Philadelphia Eagles released safety Kevin Byard and cornerback Avonte Maddox. Kevin Byard, a big name, is a guy they traded for last season from the Tennessee Titans, is now on, hitting free agency. Another pretty big name safety that is available right now. Steelers released center Mason Cole. They released safety Keanu Neal, cornerback Patrick Peterson, and Allen Robinson. A lot of those guys remain like aging veterans that Pittsburgh was able to release to free up more cap space for themselves. The Seahawks made a couple of big releases. They released free safety Quandre Diggs and strong safety Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams is the guy they traded multiple first-round picks to the New York Jets to a few years ago, and things just didn't pan out for him in Seattle. He's going to be hitting the free agency market. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers released outside linebacker, edge rusher Shaq Bennett. He had been a really big piece to their defense. Released him to free up some cap space. They also franchise tagged Antoine Winfield Jr. And probably the biggest thing they've done so far, they re-signed Mike Evans. So what would have been probably the top free agent wide receiver not hitting the market. So, you know, 3 guys that were thought out to be top free agent receivers going into the offseason of Mike Evans, T. Higgins, and Michael Pittman are all staying with their teams. Mike Evans re-signed, the other 2 franchise tagged, so staying with their teams unless a team really wants to trade for them. And finally, the Washington Commanders released offensive tackle Charles Leno and tight end Logan Thomas, and then they signed offensive tackle Zach Ertz. So there's some big name guys that were released from their teams that are going to now are now in free agency that teams will have an opportunity to get that 2-3 weeks ago a bunch of these team guys weren't even thought of for teams to have gone out and gotten. So just adds more excitement to when the new league year kicks off and free agency starts, and adds to the frenzy. Let me guys know what you think in the comments. If there's anybody that you thought was really notable, or like one of these guys maybe you want your team to pick up now, let me know in the comments. Forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, see you later.